How's it, guys? This is Dayvy Fpl and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be going over the Game Week 18 preview, and it's an exciting time as we have the first blank game week of the 2019/2020 FPL season. We're going to be talking all things blank game week as well as a free hit squad which was highly requested at the end of the video. We're going to be going over the questions you asked over on Twitter, some talking points and some overall just watch lists that I usually do. But without further ado, let's get into the preview. We have had our first sponsorship on the Dayvy FPL channel, so thanks a lot to OneFootball. OneFootball is a footballing app that gives you live notifications of the games that you're following, so it makes the perfect FPL companion app, and I've been using it for a couple of years now, and that's why I was happy to do a sponsorship with them as I use the product. So down below there's a link for all you need to know about OneFootball. You can go download the app on iOS or Android. It's completely free, so no commission or anything here, so you don't have to worry about that, but I use it, so should you. So a League Cup reminder we usually do. Unfortunately, this one is a little bit of a smaller one. As you know, the League Cup probably the least important of all competitions in England. So a lot of the players that you have in your lineups probably won't be starting this week. We have the likes of Manchester City, who are probably going to be playing a second string lineup, but just stay tuned for those. There could be players in your lineups that do play tonight and tomorrow night, so just stay tuned for injuries and maybe even a potential transfer that you're looking at. The likes of Jack Grealish probably going to be playing tonight against Liverpool in the League Cup, so just keep an eye on those types of players. But this was just a little bit of a reminder. Let's get into the actual content. So my watch list has been updated with about one new player. I still have Jack Grealish and Heung-min Son, but I've added Richarlison here. So I'm not going to be talking too much about the watch list, as these players we talk about quite a lot later on in various points, but I just wanted to highlight players that I'm looking at for the transfer in, and these are probably players that should be keeping your eyes on, as with the free transfers there's a couple of teams that do have some better fixtures over this Christmas period, and we're looking at more nailed players here, and I really do think that these three players are probably the most important players to their respective sides. But this is just my watch list. We'll talk about them more later on. So Game Week 18, yes, I said it in the introduction, it's the first blank game week of the season. West Ham and Liverpool both have a blank game week. Liverpool, probably the more important options. We spoke about in the previous preview the three options that you do have. The first option is the chip strategy. That's going to be your free hit or your wild card. The second one is transfer your Liverpool players out, and the third option is just bench them. But what should you do? And that's exactly what we'll be talking about here. A highly requested question over on Twitter is what to do with your Liverpool assets. More importantly, if you have a triple up, that's probably going to be Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah and a defender. So right off the bat, if you do have a Liverpool defender, that'll probably be my highest priority to transfer out. I just think over the upcoming game weeks, they got some tougher fixtures. Liverpool defensively have been a little bit shaky, so I think in defense that'll be my highest priority transfer out. Then I would look at transferring out one of Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane. So whether to transfer out either of these midfielders is up to you. My personal opinion is I would look at keeping Sadio Mane. We've seen him over the entire season be a little bit of a better FPL option. I know Mohamed Salah recently has shown a little bit of a resurgence in form, but I do think over the entire FPL season, Sadio Mane is the one to keep. I think we could opt for Mohamed Salah as a little bit of a differential, but if you're talking about ones that you want to transfer out and kind of creating a hierarchy list, it would be Sadio Mane last, Mohamed Salah second, and then a Liverpool defender number one to transfer out. You could also hold them and just bench them. That'll be my probably advice if you do have two players and you have a worthwhile first bench substitution and your starting 11 is not looking too bad. Then I would just look at keeping them. I think the Leicester fixture is quite a tough one, and then they do have some two nice home fixtures after that, which is the reason why I'm saying I would keep the attackers and maybe lose the defender. I think that those fixtures could be quite profitable for the Liverpool attack, but if you want to transfer them out, I can perfectly understand it. That's what I'm doing personally. I'm transferring them out for game week 18 and 19, as I don't think there's going to be many goals in that Leicester fixture or even many defensive returns. So you can look at maybe transferring them out or bringing them back in for game week 20. But right now, that was kind of my hierarchy that I went over, and hopefully you've kind of decided what you're going to be doing with your Liverpool players. So the other question was about the Chelsea assets. Chelsea have seen a dip in form recently, kind of two shock losses to Everton and Bournemouth, and people are asking kind of what to do with them. So most people do have a Chelsea attacker. I think if you still own the likes of Tomori, that's a transfer out. He's probably going to be dropping in price quite soon, whether it is tonight or tomorrow. So I would look at transferring him out. Even if he was playing, I just think that from a Chelsea defensive point of view, they've been looking quite lost defensively. So I would lose the Chelsea defender 100%, but it comes down a little bit harder on their attackers as their fixtures don't look that terrible after that Spurs game. So Tammy Abraham, I am a personal owner of Mason Mount, as I know a lot of you are, and I know that Pulisic is also a highly owned player. I think with Pulisic, it's a little bit of a tough situation. As I saw, he played quite badly against Bournemouth, but I think the overall Chelsea attack played quite badly, so I wouldn't really be judging him on 1 or 2 games, but I think that it is quite a tough position to be in. I think if you don't have a wild card or a free hit or that, or maybe you don't have any other fires to put out and you're comfortable with keeping your Liverpool players, I think I would maybe lose them, but otherwise I think that you can be patient enough for game week 19. I think Southampton at home is a great fixture. If they score on that one or they do quite well, you can easily just keep them for that Arsenal away. You saw on the weekend against Man City that Arsenal are not a great defensive side. And I mean, then if they score against Southampton, easy hold for Arsenal, Brighton, Burnley and Newcastle. After that, you can even keep them for Arsenal at home, but then it looks a little bit tougher from game week 25 to 27. So my recommendation would be just maybe be a little bit patient until that Southampton game. I think that we could see maybe a resurgence. Maybe the Spurs game is a bounce back for them, and then that Southampton game, they're absolutely going to smash it. So I think a little bit of patience, but if you don't have any fires to put out and you want to bring in the likes of a better option, I would go for that one. Now the other question, and probably the main comparison for these upcoming game weeks, is the whole Grealish versus Richarlison debate. So I had a question over on Twitter. Someone said, over the next 2 game weeks, who would you rather go for? I'm using my wild card, so I don't really mind about the upcoming fixtures that much. But I think for the next 2 game weeks, I think Jack Grealish looks the better option. He's got Southampton and Norwich, and they're both home fixtures. So Richarlison also has 2 home fixtures. They are against Arsenal, which is a good one, but then it is against Burnley, and I think you can't really be comparing Burnley to the likes of Southampton or Norwich. So my personal preference would be Jack Grealish. I think over the next 2, better option with those fixtures. He does have Watford as well, so you can just keep him on if you are willing to wildcard and keep him for those next couple game weeks. But otherwise, I do think Richarlison is a really good option. Under this new manager, he's been shown that he can be getting in those forward positions, and he does look like the main outlet for them, and he is playing quite highly forward. So I think that Richarlison and Jack Grealish are both great shots. I think that over the next 2, probably Jack Grealish is a little bit better. I think if you are wildcarding, you might as well just put 2 of these players in there and kind of see how it goes. But I think both are good options. But if you want one for the next upcoming fixtures, 100% I'd be going for Jack Grealish. So this is the free hit team that I've managed to conjure up. We've got quite a similarity to the wildcard draft that I did do yesterday's video, so link down in the description if you want to go and look at that. But I do have some other alternatives here, especially in the forward lines, as there are a couple players that have really nice game week 18 fixtures, but then their game week 19 and 20 fixtures are looking quite bad. So I'm not going to go super in depth into the squad, as you probably know a lot of these players, and as I said, very similar to the kind of a wildcard draft that I did do. But going into the defensive position of the goalkeeper, Guaita, you saw his performance last night, looks like a must-have. I mean, he didn't even keep a clean sheet, and I still think he managed 8 points, so that's absolutely insane. And with Crystal Palace's fixtures coming up, I can easily see Guaita getting a really good score in the upcoming game weeks. I've doubled it up with Kelly here, as I do think that Newcastle fixture is very nice for Crystal Palace. I know that Newcastle recently have been scoring a lot more goals and they've been looking a lot more better in form, but I do think that Crystal Palace overall have a good chance of keeping a clean sheet, even though it is an away fixture. Going into the rest of the defense, I've gone for Maguire here. The Watford fixture, a little bit of a tougher one recently. They've been shown a little bit more resurgence defensively, but I still do think that even though it is an away fixture, that Man United can keep a clean sheet here. I've just included Rico here as a little bit of a cheap alternative. This formation is going to be a 3-4-3, so we'll only be playing 3 defenders. So if I had to play 3 defenders, it would be Kelly, Maguire, and probably Lundstrom. You can either go for Lundstrom or Baldock, or even double up on that Sheffield United defense if you don't favour the likes of Kelly to keep a clean sheet. So I think that you can kind of go for any of these. The 100% player I would be benching is Rico. He's just in here as a cheap alternative, as I didn't want to kind of stack and go for a 5 playing midfield, but you can kind of go for anyone you want. These are just my favorite 3 defenders for this upcoming game week. Going on to the midfield, we spoke about Jack Grealish and Richarlison. Both have really nice fixtures for game week 18, so I would include them into the squad. And then we have De Bruyne, who looks undroppable at the moment, and even is a captaincy shout that we'll talk about later on. But Leicester at home, the only reason why he's in is because it is a home fixture. I think that Man City have to win this game, and De Bruyne is always a really good performer at home. Then we have Heung-min Son as our Spurs midfielder. You can also opt for Dele Alli. I just think that Son is a little bit more consistent, and maybe in the bigger games, we could see a little bit more of Son's flair. But Ali does do well against the top 6 sides. You already saw him score against United, so he is also a good option, so you can go for wherever you want. I've just opted for Son, as you can just easily downgrade him to Ali, so I wanted to give a nice prediction of the team value and make sure that all of you guys can afford the squad. And I still think I had 3 million in the bank here, so you can definitely afford it. Cantwell just cheap on the bench. You can upgrade him if you want, but he's probably going to be on the bench, probably in that first starting position or second one. Then going into the attack is where things are looking quite good. We have Raul Jimenez, we have Rashford, and we have Kane. So I think if I was to do a captain on the squad, we'll talk about that later, but currently it looks like Jimenez is the best captaincy shout here. He has Norwich away, who showed that they are not that much of whipping boys recently, but I do think that maybe Wolves can kind of nullify their defensive threat and score a couple there, and I think that you have to favour Jimenez to score if they do. Then going to Rashford, as I said, Watford, nice game week. Rashford should be starting. Hopefully he does start up front again. I know that on the weekend it looked like he was on the wing, but I think that Rashford's also a great shout. And then we have Harry Kane, who has that Chelsea fixture. It is a home fixture. Over Christmas, Kane usually does quite well, so he comes into the lineup as our most expensive player in this lineup. But this is my free hit squad. Obviously you can do any changes to it. Comment down below if you would and what your free hit squad would be. But just on the whole debate of the free hit, if you're going to use it this game week, just be very careful. I don't think I would be recommending the free hit chip for this game week. We only have one blank game week. Coming up later on in the game weeks, probably around game week 30, we're going to have like 7 teams having blanks. So the free hit chip is probably the best use for there. The other reason I say maybe don't use the free hit, you've seen a lot of tough fixtures in here. We have the likes of Man City versus Leicester, Spurs versus Chelsea. So you're probably not going to be getting that many points out of your premium options. Obviously, it is your team. You can use the free hit if you want, but I think that I would kind of drag you away from it a little bit and maybe ask you to save it for those upcoming double and blank game weeks later on in the season. So captaincy debate is a very tough one this game week, just because, as I said, there's a lot of high teams playing each other, a lot of top 6 clashes here. So I think the standout captaincy option for me this game week is Raul Jimenez. He plays Norwich away. Great fixture, probably the best fixture out of all the teams, so I think I would captain him. Is still in quite good form. I know recently he hasn't been performing that well, but I think he always has that potential to score a goal, and I think if Wolves are going to be scoring, it's going to be down to Jimenez. So he's my favorite captaincy shout for this game week. If you do have him, I think you have to captain him. If you don't have him, then you can look at these other 2 options. My second favorite is Kevin De Bruyne against Leicester. It is a home fixture, as I said. De Bruyne does well at home. Must-win game for Man City, and De Bruyne is in great form at the moment. So he is my second favorite option. And then my third favorite option is Heung-min Son, or any Spurs player you want. Just have Heung-min Son. He has a little bit of a poster boy for Spurs, but you can go for Dele Alli or Harry Kane as well. Home fixture, Chelsea have looked quite ropey defensively recently, so I do think that Spurs will win this game, and if they do win, they're going to have to score. So Heung-min Son in there, or whatever Spurs player you want. So they're my third favorite option. There are obviously other options that you could go for. You could go for the likes of a Rashford or Martial against Watford. I just think that I don't trust Man United that much at the moment, and Watford showed that they could kind of set up against the big boys against Liverpool. So these are my 3 favorite options. Whoever you go for, you can go for. I think there's going to be a lot of differential captains this game week, so quite a nicer game week to go for. A little bit of unpredictability there, and hopefully whoever you captain does score the points. But it's going to wrap up the video and the preview for Game Week 18. Thanks for watching. Please like it if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you are new or have not subscribed yet. Please watch the wildcard draft video. I did create it yesterday, and if you're not stayed tuned to my Twitter at Dayvy Fpl, you would have seen that I did hit the wildcard chip last night. So stay tuned for that team selection later on in the game week, where we go over my final wildcard team. I'm going to be signing off. This has been Dayvy Fpl, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.